Good morning, kiddos. This morning we are going to look at the story of Noah, a famous man from the flood. So here we go. Adam and Eve had children, and their children had children. Now, generations later, the population of the earth was growing very quickly. It seemed that the more people who lived on earth, the more selfish and greedy people became. Of course, God noticed that people had become very self-centered. Each one thought only about himself and how things affected him. It made God very sad to see how evil people had become. They were dishonest and they didn't care at all about living for God or pleasing Him. They even did things that hurt one another. You know that things must have gotten very bad because God began to feel sorry that He had even made people. His heart was filled with sadness and pain. He knew that he had to do something to stop people's evil behavior, so God came up with a plan. It was a good plan, but it would not be easy for his loving heart. He said, "I will wipe all the people out on earth, everyone I have created. I will wipe the animals and birds from the face of the earth too, because I am sorry that I made them all." However, there was one man on earth who pleased God, and his name was Noah. Noah obeyed God even though his friends and neighbors did not. God saw Noah's obedience. He saw that Noah taught his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, to obey God. So God said to Noah, "Noah, I'm tired of the violence and evil ways of my people. I have decided to destroy the people and the animals of the earth. I want to save you because you honor me. So build an ark, a big boat." God told Noah exactly how big to make the giant boat, and exactly what kind of wood to use and how to build it. He gave him specific instructions. The ark would be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. It would have one window all the way around and very near the top of the boat. It would have one giant door on one side. God said to build 3 decks inside, one on the bottom, one in the middle, and one on the top. God planned to destroy the world and the people in it by sending a flood over all the earth. This flood would wipe everything God had made off the face of the earth. But Noah and his family would be safe inside the ark. I want you to bring inside the ark with you 2 of every kind of animal and bird that lives on earth, God told Noah. God made a male and a female of each species of animal to come to Noah. Monkeys, camels, rabbits, goats, eagles, sparrows, all the birds and animals that God had created went inside the ark and lived on the 3 decks. Noah had built inside. "Bring food onto the ark for you and your family and for all the animals too," God said. Noah did everything that God told him to do. Now, when Noah finished building the ark exactly as God had told him to build it, it took Noah many, many years to build the ark, but he kept working. When it was finished and all the animals were safely inside, God said, "Noah, take your family and go inside the ark too." It was time for God's plan to go into action. God shut Noah, his family, and all the animals inside the ark, and rain began to fall. Remember, there was a male and female of every kind of animal in the ark, along with Noah, his wife, their sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their sons' wives. Noah had stored lots of food for all the animals and for his family in the giant boat too. He didn't know how long they would be in the ark, but God knew. Noah was 600 years old when it began to rain. It rained and rained. Rivers got so full that water began to spill over the banks. Giant puddles formed on the ground. Pretty soon the ground was completely covered with water. The people couldn't tell where the rivers or lakes had once been separated from the dry land. They may have worried about when the rain was going to stop. God's plan continued, and it kept right on raining. The floodwaters got deeper and deeper. Finally, the water was as high as the tops of the trees. Inside the ark, Noah, his family, and all the animals were safe and dry. They could hear the rain falling outside. as the water got deeper and deeper. It lifted Noah's giant boat right off the ground, and it began floating. The rain kept falling steadily on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. It didn't stop raining. Soon enough, even the tallest mountains were covered with 20 feet of water. The great ark floated higher and higher, as high as the tops of the mountains. Still, Noah and everyone in the ark was safe. After the 40 days and 40 nights, the rain stopped falling, but the flood waters were so deep that the ark kept floating and floating. The waters covered the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah, and he sent a strong wind to start blowing across the earth. It began drying up the flood waters. The water went down and down until the ark finally came to rest on the top of the mountain called Ararat. But the flood waters were still too deep for Noah to let the animals out of the boat. Noah and his family had been living in the ark for about 8 months, but it still wasn't safe to come out. They couldn't live on the earth yet. After Noah's giant boat came to rest on the top of Mount Ararat and the flood waters began going down, Noah sent a raven out. It flew back and forth looking for a place to land. After a while, Noah sent a dove out of the ark. It flew around and around, but could not find a place to land. So it came back to the ark. Noah waited another week and then sent out the dove again. It came back to the ark again, but this time it had an olive leaf in its beak. The water kept going down and down. Noah sent the dove out once more a week later. This time it didn't even come back. It was still a couple of months later before God finally said, "Come out of the ark, Noah. Bring out your family and all the animals. It's time for the animals and birds to have babies and fill the earth with life once again." So Noah and his family came out of the ark and saw the brand new world that was left after the flood. The fresh air smelled good and the sunshine felt good, but there were no other people or animals on the earth. They had all died in the flood. The only people and animals now were the ones who had been inside the ark. The first thing Noah did was build an altar and give sacrifice to God. He thanked God for keeping him and his family safe from the flood. His whole family thanked God too. God was pleased with the sacrifice, and he said, "I will never curse the ground again. Even though man is evil, I will not destroy the earth and all its creatures again. As long as the earth is here, there will be summer and winter, and day and night. I bless you and your sons, Noah. I want you and your sons to have more children so the earth will be populated again. You will rule over all the animals, and I will give you all the plants. I give you everything," God said. Then God made a promise to Noah and his sons. "Never again will I cut off all life from the earth by a great flood. There will never again be a flood as big as this one, I promise," God said. "I will put a sign in the sky as a reminder of my promise. Each time I see the sign, I will remember my promise to you." The sign God put in the sky was the very first rainbow. Noah knew that the rainbow was a reminder of God's promise with all the creatures on earth. Noah and his family were ready for a brand new start. And that is the story of Noah. Down below this video, there is a link to some games and activities for this story. So go ahead and click on that and see how well you listened. See you later.